Hi, I'm Marcia Blaine, a licensed professional counselor, a life coach, a certified trauma specialist, and a hypnotherapist. We're going to venture through 4 powerful sessions of unsticking the trauma, what that impact has been like for your life, how you're going to utilize tools to reduce the impact of trauma, defining what that trauma is, re-empowering yourself. We'll talk about how to meditate and manifest things, and ultimately getting you to a place where you're ready to consider hypnotherapy and relieving and releasing yourself from that past trauma. So stick with me through these 4 sessions as we venture through unsticking the trauma. Unsticking the Trauma, Session 1 with Marcia Blaine. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time out to actually work on you and make you a priority. In this session, we're going to discuss how we define trauma and how that trauma is currently impacting your life. So let's get into it. Trauma can simply be defined as a moment that changes the trajectory of life. What exactly does that mean? That means that some situation, circumstance, a person, or people created a situation that robbed you of safety, security, belonging, nurturing, love, protection as a person. It may have happened by the hands of people that you trusted. It could have definitely happened by strangers. You could have postured yourself in a place to where no one understood why you made changes in your life. You could have easily isolated yourself. You could have very easily stopped caring. But in those moments of stopping, those were actually your times of crying out. Someone see me. Can anyone feel my hurt? Will anyone protect me? Oftentimes in those places of trauma, when it comes from people that we trust, that are supposed to protect us, it creates confusion in our mindset. It stops us from really understanding what it is that we're supposed to get from that trauma base. The questions of why. The question of why me? The question of does anyone love me? What did I do? Why did this happen to me? How can I move on? How can I trust? That trajectory became the narrative that you told yourself. That didn't mean that it is your actual life sentence. It doesn't mean that it's your lifetime narrative. It doesn't mean that you have to stay in that place. Oftentimes, we stay in that place because it's comfortable. We have set up a defense. We've postured ourselves to where we become angry, maybe even aggressive in our process, but it's a protective measure. On the inside, there's hurt. On the inside, there's pain. On the inside, it's a struggle. Why me? If we could all have the answer to that question because of trauma that we did not solicit, we'd all be in such a better place. We wouldn't need therapy. We wouldn't need hypnotherapy. We wouldn't need to set up affirmations. We wouldn't need any of things. The truth is, the trauma that happened in our life was not provoked by you. Very simply, and this is how I explain trauma to a lot of clients. Every day you set yourself up to go out and actually perform whatever duties you have for the day, whatever that day looks like, whatever that process looks like for you. That's how you set your day in order, right? Well, when someone is planning to cause harm to another person, that's how they set their day up. They look for opportunities, they take advantage of situations, and then they strike. You weren't expecting to be hurt. You weren't expecting to be traumatized, violated. You weren't expecting to be unheard or unprotected. You were going about your day. You didn't ask for anyone to traumatize you or violate you one way or the other. And let me take a moment to say, trauma isn't always about sexual abuse. That's one area. Trauma could look like being raised without having the security of where the next meal is going to come from. Trauma can look like being in a household where there is a lot of physical violence. Trauma can look like being pushed away from a parent who is supposed to nurture and protect you, but they don't have time for you. That is what trauma can look like. Instability, not knowing where you're going to live, can be trauma. Being told by others you're not enough is trauma. Feeling trapped, feeling unheard, feeling like you are not even seen is trauma. So, a lot of times when people come to me and they're trying to identify the why behind their behavior, why am I distant? Why don't I trust people? Why? And the first thing I encourage them to do is let's go back to where it started. Oftentimes, most people can't handle going back. It hurts. It does. It's not comfortable because the first time in your life, maybe, someone actually wants to hear what happened. You have to trust that that person won't hurt you. You have to trust that that person will see you and validate you. That takes courage. One of the first steps to moving through the pain of trauma and releasing what that trauma looks like is giving yourself permission to have courage, giving yourself permission to take your power back from your violator. And listen, let me be real clear. This trauma and what I'm seeing as a theme, especially in a lot of young people, they are traumatized by parents. I know oftentimes we hear these stories about deadbeat dads and dads not being around. Too little time do we talk about mothers who are angry and taking it out on their children. That's trauma. That's toxic. That is the part that we're going to work on as you begin to change the trajectory of the impact of trauma. Right this moment, I want you to just take a deep breath in because I said a lot of things and it may trigger you. It may awaken some thoughts for you. Take a deep breath and hold that breath for a couple of seconds, giving yourself permission to be here in this moment so you can prepare to unstick that trauma. Now release that breath with the thought of saying, I am going to take my power back. And then we'll get you to the place before the end of this session. I have taken my power back. Okay? I know it's a lot of information. I know it's troublesome. I know that it's impacting. I know that it's life changing. I know that addressing your trauma is scary. But you know what? You are so worth it. The value that you have inside of you is worth unsticking that trauma. So, as we prepare to move forward, I want you to think about how I can actually take my power back, change the path and the process of what that trauma looks like for me. Here's the key: you don't have to carry that baggage anymore. You don't have to own that trauma anymore. I see the impact of trauma. I see the goodness in you, though, because today, giving yourself that permission to grab hold of you, to love you, to be present for you, that is where your power is. That is where you give yourself permission to be free. For a couple of moments, I want to talk about the four personalities of trauma. I want to just really understand that these four powers of trauma, you fit in one of those categories. The first one is the fight. You want to control every aspect of your life because that's a protective measure. You have found yourself, people saying, why you got to control everything? You don't run nothing. Why is it always got to be about you? You can attack people with your words because that is a protective measure and it helps keep them away from you. The second personality of trauma is that flight personality. You know, that workaholic, the one that is looking for perfection and achievement, having a mask on, having that posture of making everything feel safe, everyone being a part of it, that part of a person that says, you know what, I can fix everyone. I can just work. I can make it better. I can set up situations. I can do this. I can make people understand that I'm okay. I'm good. And then you have the freeze personality, the one that people have used as the scapegoat, that abandoned child, that abandoned person, the one that doesn't know how to fight, the one that doesn't know how to take flight, that person that often sleeps, hibernates almost, often fights with motivation, struggles with finding peace, often experiencing depression. Freeze is really identified often as the couch potato. And then the fourth personality is the fawn. The fawn is like a baby doe, a baby deer, people pleasing, always willing to go above and beyond just so that people can see them, just so that people can hear them. Oftentimes, that fawn has experienced narcissistic behavior by their parents or others that they trusted. They are silent. Their acquiescence is deafening. They have no voice. They hadn't figured out how to be heard or to be seen. They are often exploited. They sometimes confuse being helpful with being restricted to servitude because they are really trying to strive for social perfectionism. All of these categories of personality, from fight to flight to freeze and to fawn, has captured us in our trauma. It has put us in a place of trying to identify a survival pattern, how to function, how to be seen, including times of not understanding why we respond and behave the way that we do. Today, I want to challenge you to really think about unsticking the trauma. And if you recognize where you are in the fight, flight, fawn, or freeze place, in the workbooks that's going to accompany these 4 sessions, you'll find a place in there to write down your trauma. You'll find a place for you to identify where you are, what that personality is, because we're going to begin to manifest a different place in that personality. We're going to manifest your power as we prepare to go into session 2. We're going to stop and take a few moments to gather ourselves to welcome in peace and calm. We're going to take a few moments and actually speak life and empowerment to ourselves. So I want you to find comfortable seating right now. And I want you to look at your hands, see them as an anchor in your peace. And I want you to place them on your legs, holding your hands up. I believe when we are in a position like this with our hands up and open, we are in a position to receive all the goodness that comes to us. So as you have gotten into that position, I want you to relax your shoulders. If you're in a comfortable and safe space, I want you to slightly close your eyes. And as I count to 3, I want you to take a deep breath in. And when I tell you to release it, I want you to be able to follow the mantras that I guide. These are your affirmations that are going to anchor you. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Deep breath in and hold that breath. Hold that breath for a few seconds. What I'm doing is allowing you to invite calm into your presence, peace into your presence. Now release that breath. Repeat this after me. Today, I stand in the path of my power. Today, I stand in the path of my power. You are posturing and positioning yourself to empower you as you move through breaking the bonds of trauma. So ready? 1, 2, 3. Deep breath in and hold, hold, hold that breath. A couple more seconds. See the shackles of trauma begin to loosen and release. Today, I take my power back from past trauma. Today, I take my power back from past trauma. It's in you. The power belongs to you. You hold the keys to your release and your freedom. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Deep breath in and hold, hold, hold that breath. Hold the space of that breath. Yeah, right there. And release it. Today I speak life to me. Today I speak life to me. Yes, It's time for the movement from existence to life. It's time to rebuild yourself. It's time to validate things happened in your life, but they can no longer control you. You are empowered for greatness. Receive that. Begin to walk in that. I'll come back in session 2 and we'll take on some more strategies of breaking that trauma. Now, several things that I want to encourage you to do. If you have been triggered by this conversation, I want to encourage you to seek out speaking with a therapist as you begin to navigate freeing yourself from the trauma. I also encourage you to continue through these 4 sessions. We're going to get to that complete breakthrough. Our last session, we're going to walk through some hypnosis. So I'll see you shortly for session 2. Thanks for joining.